at other things that they like, looking at their beliefs, at least showing that you embrace their values, or at least taking a quick Google or something about their values, because Google is a useful resource, isn't it? But anyway, you have the Tripitaka, you have the Holy Bible, have the Bhagavad Gita. I forgot where I put the Torah, and I forgot where I put my Torah, and my Quran is downstairs. But the thing, there's the Torah. Sorry.
And you read them. Do you read them?
Yeah, just on the first few pages, but because these are thick books, don't you see?
Wow.
How many? I just don't have the time to read them, but I still think that embracing others' values is important, and that's how we can forge connections.
Yes. Understanding the values and understanding other faith and religion. I mean, I think you've got some answers right there, because I'm reflecting what you say with Singapore. I think a lot of us, math and science, to a lot of these Muslim students around the world, I mean, you must have got such a huge Hi everyone, welcome again to Talk About Life and also Love Cafe Radio and News and Views. And this show is going to be played on my podcast catchers, on Anchor, Google, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. But most importantly, it's going to be on the #1 professional podcast TV, Lifestyle TV USA in America. The #1 professional TV awarded by Tally Awards in America, and also to the audience of Indo-Pacific, Southeast Asia, and also Asia. And today we've got a very special guest right there, and I'm kind of feeling a bit jittery because you know what? He's a professor of math and also the god of math. And you know what? I'm just going to welcome Subarno Isaac Barry. But before that, I just want to tell all the viewers and all the listeners out there, this is Singapore at 7:15 a.m. here on the 9th of September 2021. So I'm actually 12 hours ahead of wherever you are. Isaac, welcome to Singapore, tropical island. All year round, we welcome the whole world. How are you, Isaac, over there?
I'm very good. It's September 8th, 7:15 p.m. for me. Pretty late outside. And I'm doing good in the USA. Right now here in New York, we're having floods on the side today. But here, it's fine. And I'm actually enjoying it. Thank you for the opportunity, because it's really nice to hear somebody who actually wants to know about what I think, who wants to know about my ideas for inspiration, things like that. So it's really an honor to be here. And yeah, I'm having a bit of jitters coursing through my spine too. You're not alone.
You know what? I'm going to call you Isaac. You know, I just want, even before we have our formal interview with you, I just want to confess to the rest of the world, I am in no position to ask you any questions about math, chemistry, or science, because I failed my chemistry, my first test in my life at the age of 15, and I barely passed my GCE ordinary level examination at the age of 16. I scored a C5 for I think I scored a C6, right, for chemistry. That's just above 50 marks. And then I've got like a C5 for physics, and I was sweating it out. That was really bad experience. So no painful experience for me anymore. So hats off to you, Isaac, for scoring all your math, science, physics, and chemistry. Wonderful job you're doing there, inspiring people like me who really have like no clues about chemistry, physics, or maths, but you did inspire me through your videos. When I looked at you being asked all these questions, you've got the formula from the head. And when I passed my exams, Isaac, for my O levels at age of 16, and then my A levels at the age of 18, my GCA level examinations before I enter into the university for my maths, I did my 10-year series. And in Singapore, let me explain. What is the 10-year series for exams? We collect all these examination questions for all the last 10 years, for all the exams that is being set by Cambridge University, and we actually have them in books. So they are being sold in the bookstores. So what the students in Singapore do is that we are obsessed with assessment practice books. We will go to the bookstores, buy all these books and practice them from page 1 to at the end of the page, check the answers and practice them again and close our eyes and make sure we get the answers right. So that's how obsessed we are with exams. So I just want to tell you, I think myself, I'm obsessed with exams because I want to get the grades, and I have so much pain when I was studying for the exams and going for the classes, because it was a painful experience for me. Having no talent in maths, what I did was sheer hard work, sweating it out, making sure that I still get my A's for my elementary maths and my additional maths, but barely getting the C for my physics and my chemistry. It was so bad. But I aced my maths because I kind of studied and all the formula, and I practiced all the 10-year examinations that were actually the official papers from the Cambridge exam. So that was my experience with school and my experience with math and science. So it was a painful journey for me. Isaac, what you have got to say?
So the thing is, you mentioned that you were really obsessed with exams, getting really smart. Well, the thing is, I hear that memorization is not the right thing to do, because memorization is called for rote learning. Because if you just grab a kid and tell him the Faraday's laws of induction without explaining to him in any context, he'll think that math and science isn't actually fun. Math and science isn't actually compounded. It's just a bunch of random equations sprinkled and thrown around here and there to be memorized and having no real connection to reality. But if you grab that same towel and give him a magnet and a coil, then he will realize, I could be the next Faraday, because I see that this magnet and this coil can actually produce electricity when I move the magnet through the coil. And he'll think, why does this happen? And then when you tell him the equation, he starts to make the connection. You have to have hands-on demonstration, and you have to let them get a background first before you just throw some random equations at them.
I'm just going to hold you on a little bit. I think we're diving into a couple of issues here. Isaac, I just want to let you know that in Singapore, we have this educational system, right? We're talking about educational policies, then educational practices, and then comes down to the teachers in the classes, and then the system of like having tests after tests after tests, and a teacher who's coming into the class. So even before me trying to ask you various questions in the next 30 minutes, Isaac, we are already on air right now, and you are already in Singapore right now. Isaac, let us talk about three things in our session here. Number one, the educational system at large, right? System, policies, teachers, and students, right? We dissect that. And then after that, I'd like to talk about your candidacy for presidency for the year 2048, and also you as a Muslim young person, what's your take on faith? And what's the message you want to get out there? And myself being an educator, teaching entrepreneurship and teaching businesses, Isaac, I've got a problem with going to class myself. You talk about, it's about experimentation and all this. I mean, doesn't it go to the teachers, right? You need to have like inspiring teachers who doesn't come into a class just wanting to get the syllabus because they are paid, right? They are paid by the month, right? At the end of the month, they are paid the X amount of dollars. What they want to do is that they want to get into the class, they want to deliver the syllabus and make sure the students pass their exams at the end of the year. I mean, that's the key performance indicator of educators, right? Just getting the students off the class and making sure that they go by the batches. It's almost like a factory, right? You've got a teacher coming. I mean, I'm speaking it from myself as a student and also myself as a teacher myself. Like, you have the pressure by the school to finish the syllabus because you want the students to finish the syllabus, to be able to go for the test and to ace the exams. So in my mind as a teacher, I need to finish my syllabus. Even when I was an English teacher, I made sure that they have to write about 10 compositions for the term, and they have to write that. And in the class, there's also classroom management because I've got different students have different kinds of learning, kind of learning curve, the kind of learning speed, I should say. So it is challenging for a teacher to come into a class to kind of inspire every student. So from a teacher's point of view, you've got a challenge completing the syllabus, but on the other hand, the students also wanted to get good grades. And tell us, like, if you are going to go to a class, like in Singapore, we are like about grades. We are like about the paper chase. We just want to get a good CV. We just want to get the good paper at the end of our academic life. So tell me, from your perspective, Isaac, as a student point of view and as a potential teacher point of view, how are the challenges and how will you present yourself on both sides?
Well, the thing is, I think we should incentivize teachers to not think about the payday at the end of the month, or rather think about actually making their students bloom, because otherwise they not only won't they get good grades, but they won't learn anything. They'll hate the subject they were taught it and think that their teacher was bad, and the subject in itself was bad. That's why the teacher struggled to teach it. And so the thing is, we need teachers who know the how and the why, and teachers that are incentivized not to think about the well-being of their money, but to think about the well-being of their students instead. And for the students, you shouldn't be thinking about your grade. If you learn something at the end of the day, no matter if that you're not a student in your math skill, like you got a low grade, or if you learn something really big, anything, if you walk away learning something, then you should be satisfied. It's not that if you get a good grade, you should be satisfied. It's if you learn something. So anything does. You shouldn't have teachers who aren't passionate. And you should have teachers who know the how and the why. We need good teachers that don't use memorization, and teachers who use hands-on experimentation. Only then can we have good classes. And so I think that test after test maybe decrease the frequency of the minigun of tests for a little bit. But I think that honestly, overall, you should change the syllabus rather than the frequency of tests. The tests are fine, but the syllabus.
I think you covered something very important about incentivizing teachers, and I would like to talk about that when you run as a president. So I'm going to hit that question a little bit. How would you incentivize teachers and measure intangibles like inspiration rather than grades? And also, like if you were to now come into a class, right? Tell us what's your daily routine like now, because you are actually growing so fast in terms of your brain and also in terms of absorbing a lot of new things, and also you are able to give, like I see in your YouTube channels. You're actually, teaching a lot and explaining a lot of math. And I saw you have the trigonometry, and you've got your calculus, and you try to teach your grandparents calculus. I mean, I did calculus when I was age 13, I think. I mean, I fell in love with them at first, but after a while, I fell out of love with calculus and trigonometry. I kind of like loved it at first, but after that, I kind of like fell out of love with trigonometry. Now, tell us, how's your daily routine like at your age right now?
And more breakups than I expected. And second of all, my routine is about to drastically change because my school starts tomorrow. So my schedule is about to drastically change in about 12 hours. But for the summer in the pandemic, it was mostly like this. So I wake up at like 9 or 10 a.m. because I sleep at like 1 or 2 a.m. I'm a busy person. And then what happened is I take breakfast in the morning. Then what I do is I do some math problems. I solve some physics problems. My father asked me for voiceovers and one or two videos.
You are like a musician, right? Because it's like the musician wake up, they got to practice their piano because it's so much part of their lives. So when you go to school tomorrow, what kind of class will you be in? Which if you want to divulge is really up to you. What grade will you be in when you go to school?
Well, first of all, if you think a musician does that, would you classify me as a musician? Because I actually practice my grand piano every day when I wake up.
So you are a musician too?
Yeah, I have it right in the
I saw you playing the piano, but I didn't know that you are like really into the music, etc. Like, tell us, like, when you start school tomorrow, what grade will you be and what will you be involved in? Because I guess when you go into a class as a student, I mean, the teachers will be daunted, right? If they may not be able to answer your questions.
Good question. What grade will I be in? Well, I will be in 2 grades at the same time, if that answers your question. So I will, first half of the day, I will go to a middle school, but I will be going to 8th grade because I took this huge test and they determined that my skill was 12th grade college level. Why I thought, hey, I don't think I'm physically ready for this. So let me try my luck with 8th grade. And if I pass 8th grade this year, then maybe I will try a hand at 12th grade. And I also decided to split my school year into the other half. The other half would be 4th grade because I was in 3rd grade last year. So naturally, I have to go to 4th grade in some form. So I went to 4th grade and for the second half of my day. And for 4th grade, I just do all the special activities and lunch. And I have to get a chance to communicate with the same peers of my age, right?
Of course. And that's the next question I would want to ask you. But even before that, let's go back to the education question because I really want to tap your mind. I mean, you are going back to school. I mean, a lot of us students in Singapore, we are into this paper chase, right? Grades chase. We don't care about the learning. We don't care about the test. We just want to ace it. We memorize the rote learning. Of course, the system is trying to change because the system is trying to like give questions that needs creativity and without formula. They're trying to give the students that instead to kind of filter out the better students against the one that can't make the grade. But I want to ask you, like a student who are too good for class, right? You're in the same age group. There are students in Singapore, they're the high achievers, and Singapore really want to filter out these students from the rest. And schools became boring to them, and then they kind of sit back, they feel bored. What do you ever feel that, in the past couple of years when you were going to school, and then did you feel bored? Did you feel that you need to like take over a class? And what do we do with students like that in Singapore, whereby students are really bored, right? They're at the back and they tend to kind of like go divergent another way and they kind of have dysfunctional behavior at the end, because we know that these students can't sit still because they're too boring. They feel that it's too boring for them. What do you say about yourself, and also for students who feel that they're really bored?
Well, me myself, I didn't exactly get bored during class because I was too good for the class. So I didn't really get bored, but I never exactly got a chance to communicate with my peers either. When they did communicate with me, they were busy laughing at what I was doing on the paper instead of looking at me and talking at me. At least 50% of the time. So the thing was, I never really got a chance to socialize with my peers as they were too busy locked on my paper instead of me. And the thing was, I wasn't exactly bored of class though. And nobody else really recognized me until third grade. Even then, only the teacher recognized me as exceptional. And everybody else I knew, since it was online class, I didn't really get the chance.
Okay, it was online. All right. Yeah, because largely the last 2 years has been in the pandemic, is online. So my next question for you is still regarding education. In Singapore, the overarching policy making in the educational system, they are trying to focus on STEM modules, right? The math, the science, technology. However, a lot of students are finding it not wanting to go into the math and the science, because math and science, basically, in the human thinking, the human mind, is really about solving problems, right? You bring back, if you are an engineer, you're an R&D developer, you are trying to develop and solve a problem and serve the community with that. Either you're building a bridge, you're building a plane, you're building a Tesla car. It's about solving a problem. However, more and more students are going to like business, right? And then you've got like an influx of all these students going skew into the other side, selecting subjects and faculties in business, in various parts of business. You're talking about accountancy, finance, business administration, entrepreneurship, etc. And this is the trend that the students are going towards, because business means making money, right? They want to get that instant gratification when they graduate. They can work in a bank, they can invest in the stocks, they can manage a lot of money. So this is the problem that on the policy level, the government is facing. We don't have enough of the scientists, we don't have enough of engineers. So what's your take on this? And should we change the trend, if that's the trend? And if we do, how should we do it?
All right, so what do I think personally about the math and science brain drain trend? So the thing is, more people are going to business than math and science. And when Sir Isaac Newton formulated calculus to solve his problems, now a few hundred years later, business schools are thinking of calculus to describe multiple effects in the stock market and things like that. And so business students will 100 business schools change technology in the world for the better? Well, probably not. But will 100 science and math schools do the same? Definitely. So math and science is a bit more important than business, at least in my view. And so I think personally that it's very important to have math and science as the trend instead of business. So I think that yes, we should reverse this trend. And for how to reverse it, well, most students are like, oh my goodness, I can't solve math and science. All these complicated equations are too jumbly for me.
Yeah.
However, the thing is, math and science are not all complicated equations. Math and physics is just taking observations and then converting them into basic algebra. Everybody can do basic algebra, right? And it's basically just computed down to the most basic thing you can have. So it's really not that big of a deal. Math is not that hard. It's just taking some observations and then communicating them. It's like
Wow.
speaking. Like that frog over there hopped. You can say that's just like math. In math, in physics, you observe something, this apple falls at a certain rate, and then you report it to other people. So, just like speaking, math and science is easy. So you can show that to people to inspire them to not do business, but instead do math and science, because it's not only more meaningful to the world, but it's also pretty easy. Personally.
Very easy.
So,
No, then my next question is that then you have a big role in the world, right, Isaac, to be inspiring students all over the world, which is like what you're going to do in the Harvard speech that you're going to speak at, about inspiring students with maths and science, particularly Muslim students. Then you should be here in Singapore, right? I mean, have you thought of like going to the rest of the world rather than just staying put in the US, like traveling around the world, going to the schools and giving speeches and inspiring students, and to make sure that they have the right perspective of their careers and what they can do with their lives. I mean, that's my challenge as a teacher in the past, when I was teaching, inspiring them and making sure that they go to the right path. Have you ever thought of that?
Oh, well, going to Singapore, I would if I could, but right now, Corona. So, of course, I can't.
Oh, yeah, of course, of the coronavirus, of course.
Yeah. Last time I went abroad was to India, and that was right before the pandemic. It ended on January 6, 2020. So it was right before the pandemic, and I would totally travel to Singapore and probably help the education system if I could. But right now, I don't have the time. Maybe in 5 or 6 years, when the coronavirus will probably just become the common cold variation.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of wraps it up. About some of these questions about the Singapore academic system, some of these trends. I'd like to bring you to Singapore again. This is a country that I am very fortunate to be here, to be born here and to be raised here, and to be brought up with the values that we have to respect and embrace. Different kinds of people, language, because it's part of our pledge that, regardless language, race, or religion, to be as one. So that is really in our blood, trying our best to accept differences. And we see each other as people, I think, here in Singapore, each other as one common people, which is very important in the world right now. I'm so blessed to have that, but that doesn't exist in many parts of the world, sadly to say, which is real. And I'm glad to have you on, and that's why I love to have your take, because it seems that you have a book that is already out. Would you like to tell us about your book? And also, as a young Muslim, oh yes, you can plug in your book and have a shout out at your book. Tell us about the book, and also tell us about the message you would like the world to hear as a young Muslim, not only a Muslim in America, back in Bangladesh, in India, and also in this part of the world, in Singapore and other parts of the world. Tell us about your book and about your message, Isaac.
All right, so my book, as you can see here, The Love, I wrote it, as you can see, and it even has my 4-year-old's face on the cover. Well, the cover was made by somebody else. I'll say that much. But anyway, the thing is, The Love was a story made all the way back on July 3rd, 2016. And the Imam said you shouldn't be solving problems with chalk. But the Imam was also rudely ignoring all the children who were just tapping Flappy Bird and Geometry Dash on their phones. So all these people were just on their phones doing nothing. And I thought these people are thinking math and science is too complicated. Let's look at a silicon screen instead because it's probably better for us. But the thing is, it's not better for other people. And because not only does it nearly eliminate their purpose to the world, but it also isn't as fun as doing math and science and discovering something new. Have you gotten that like shock that comes from discovering or learning something new? That shock that comes to you when you like discovered something that you thought was different before. This shock is something that these people will never experience if they don't stop using that silicon screen excessively. So I thought maybe use math and science, inspire other people, and to make them think, hey, math and science isn't that hard. But the Imam said no. So I thought that this was really an act that couldn't be forgiven by just regular means. And I thought that I had to do something to inspire the people of the world. And I thought other people around the world who are also Islamic are doing the same thing with religion. And because I've heard about all these guns. You have 9/11, terrorist groups, things like that. In fact, Afghanistan was recently becoming the first terrorist country in the world. So the thing is, I am very worried about this. And so I wrote the law as a booster for my campaign. And my campaign was to stop all these terrorists who thought that racism and discrimination was the best way to achieve Islamic peace. But the thing is, racism and discrimination is not the right thing to do. No matter our race, religion, or ethnicity, we are all one humanity, like you said in your preemptive. So I think that humanity, rather than racism, is the best thing. So I want to enforce that with math and science. And that's why I put on my campaign the law. And recently I've even published a second book. And my message to the people of the world would be, think of ourselves as one humanity instead of many different people. Only then will we get to see world peace.
Yeah, that's a huge vision, Isaac. And that's why I think our interview here and your session is very important, especially coming from you. I just want to ask a couple of questions. You feeling that you have this message that you want to use math and science. How did this come from? Is it like something that is from your gut? Was it an inspiration from a dream? Was it something you prayed about? Or did it come naturally to you because you were just an expert in math and science? How did this kind of message come to you that I need the world to hear my message?
Well, I thought that peace was good because I got inspiration. My father had been telling me about all these terror attacks because he was reminiscing on how he had almost lost his own brother, who was my uncle, in 9/11. So he was reminiscing, and I thought of these terror attacks as inhumane. And I thought in my free time, while I was hoarding chalk under my bedsheet, how can I solve this problem? Because people are killing each other. And even as a 4-year-old, I had a sense of morals. People killing each other isn't good. So I thought, how can we stop people from doing this kind of thing? And so that's why I wanted to use this piece, because I was already pretty engaged in math and science, and I had saw that humanity is the best option instead of racism. I thought, these attacks are all happening because of racism. What if we just make it opposite day? So it's not racism anymore, but instead humanity. What if we think of each other in brotherhood instead of thinking of each other as separate people? We shouldn't kill each other over borders that we and our ancestors made. So that's what I personally thought, and that's how I got the inspiration to start World Peace.
So, at the age of 4, you already have this kind of like gut feeling that, you really want to do it and you need to speak out to the world. And that was at the age of 4. That's tremendous, Isaac. At age of 4.
Yeah.
And then, it's just crazy, right?
Yeah, and now I'm 9. So I'm more than twice as old.
Yeah, you're 7 or 8, right?
No, I'm 9. And I'm
you're 9.
I'm gonna turn 10 April 9th, 2022.
Yeah, so I guess that's the time whereby after the pandemic, after it's over, you can start traveling around the world to all these schools and give them speeches and inspire students. I thought that would be your next career. Yes, one question back to you as a young Muslim. I love the fact that you're not just saying peace, but you're using an instrument, a tool. Let's use maths, let's use science, let's try to use that to solve world problems, because math and science, they are tools to solve world problems, right? Building bridges, building the next solar panel, for example, trying to solve some of these very urgent humanitarian issues using science and maths. I mean, you're talking about climate change. There's a lot of math and science in it, because you're talking about scientists like in Singapore, we're facing rising sea levels. And I was talking to a student here in Singapore. He was doing this climate change modeling for PhD. He says that there's a lot of math and science in it. It's not just like just talking about it. You need to dig a lot of data and to come up with the modeling to do predictions, right? It's a lot of maths involved. We're talking, what you're saying is using the tools that you already have, the math and the science, and solve real problems, like, for example, climate change, prediction of earthquakes, like what Japanese, in 2010, you've got the biggest earthquake in Japan, at Fukushima, and then you've got they've got all these indicators that predict earthquakes, so that they are able to let the people go to the safe ground in the next 10 minutes. So a lot of math and science involved in humanity, right, Isaac?
Yeah, I think that math and science can really save humanity. Earlier, at the beginning of the interview, I mentioned here in New York, we have some floods at the side. And we have floods on the side. And so, thus, what is the cause of these floods? Hurricane Ida. Where did Hurricane Ida come from? Climate change. Climate change is the thing that's driving all these natural disasters, and it's causing all that. And politicians who have no idea about math and science aren't enough to fix this. We need actual mathematicians and scientists to come together and fix this problem of climate change. Otherwise, the doomsday clock is going to hit 12 very, very soon. And so I think that math and science is a very important thing and should be prioritized right now, especially when we're so close to doomsday. Coronavirus, climate change, politicians who are with tension between USA, China, and Russia. Not only do we have geopolitical tension, but also biological and natural as well. We are so close to doomsday that it's not even funny. And we need math and science to resolve all these issues, or at least even 2 of these 3 issues. Coronavirus and, all these natural disasters, climate change. So I think that math and science is the most important. And in fact, that's why I responded with yes. The business trend is very bad to that question you had earlier. So I think math and science is of the essence.
Yeah. Tell us, to break down, before we talk about the final part about your presidential candidacy. Now, yes, math and science is the solution for the world. How do you, as a young Muslim, be able to make your message such that it is applicable, tangible, to create such a movement? Because you're saying, oh, this is the campaign of the love, right? That we want to show the world through a young Muslim like you, and get more young Muslim to focus on solving world problems through math and science, like solving coronavirus situation. I mean, there's a lot of modeling, right? You're talking about the trajectory of a virus. You've got to have a lot of modeling, a lot of maths. You're talking about epidemiology, virology. At the end, there's a lot of maths involved. So how do you translate that into like a step-by-step kind of movement, or have you thought about that?
So the thing is, math is just the language of science, and so all these sciencey things that involves, it requires math plus math. And so I created the love to say that math and science, I created the love to spread the message that math and science is the most essential thing. And the thing is, the love cannot hold up without our support, at least the support of the people around us. Because we are just a humble 4-person family with a bit of support from outside. So what are we about to do if we don't have any funding and any people to join us? And so, even though we do have lots of influence, one of the things I am the most frustrated over is that I have the least amount of scientific equipment of any professor. So I really want some kind of lab or something, but I don't have any funding as of now, so I have to wait. But anyway, I think that the love has to hold up with other support. So please, please don't. Not a plug.
Yeah, you're right, Isaac. For your book, like you call it a campaign, right? And a campaign like a movement, right? You want people to come with you, right? On this journey. That you want to have the movement whereby people are spiritually with you. Spiritually means they are mentally, spiritually, that they believe in your cause, right? Amongst young Muslims to study more and to go into these particular fields, like going into become a scientist, going to become an R&D engineer, going to become someone in different fields of engineering, right? Climate change, renewable energy, solar, and also like, many ways of solving world problems, like electronic waste. We're talking about chemicals that is being polluting in the ocean right now, plastics, etc. So we're talking about very tangible things right now. Isaac, we're talking about asking students to go into various fields in a very tangible strategy, so asking them like, hey, if you have a passion for climate change, now you really should be studying about renewable energy, right? Carbon sequestration, for example. And if you really want to solve some of these world problems, you need to work hard. So you need to be seen as the top scientists, the top engineers, to be solving these problems for the sake of the humanity, for the existence of the earth. And that's what you're talking about, right, Isaac? Yeah.
So,
and I thought that's beautiful. Are you coming up with a second book that kind of detail your strategies in doing that? Or what's coming up for your next book? I heard you coming up with your second book.
Oh yeah, it's about to come out almost. It's being published by Random House, or I've never heard of the publisher before, but hopefully they're better than Author House, who published my last book.
So you could publish on Amazon, because my book is published on Amazon.
Yeah, so Random House is going to publish my next book.
But Random House is huge. I mean, Random House is a huge publisher, and they've published a lot of like textbooks and all this. It's a huge publishing company.
To me, their name speaks some truth. To me, they were pretty random to begin with.
Random, okay.
Yeah, but anyway, Now, the second book not only is a continuation to the first, which gives the message that math and science is the way to solve things, but it also has a full-fledged plot that I won't spoil for the purpose of reading. But anyway, it's going to come out sometime soon, hopefully before the end of the month, and so I'm very excited for the book. I'm done with it. All it needs to do is be published.
Yeah, and you know what? In Singapore, we are people who consume a lot of textbooks and a lot of assessment books. If you ever consider writing a chicken soup for the soul for maths and science for the students here, I think it's going to be a bestseller instantly. Like, okay, how do you ace your mathematics? How do you ace your chemistry and your physics? I think you're going to be like a bestseller in Asia instantly. Maybe you should think about that, Isaac.
All right. So the thing is, I got passing for math and science when I was 2, and my father was a math student part-time, and so I was like sitting on the mattress and watching him doing all his equations on the blackboard, and then when I saw that he was walking away, I was a mischievous child, and so I thought, maybe I try to do the same. So I tried to mindlessly replicate his equations. In fact, I had been hoarding chalk under the bed for a few years. I don't remember that. It's
so you
only
kind of
that
discovered that.
I was kind of reportedly, at least what my mom and dad told me, they just said that they were like chatting, like, "Hey, why is all the chalk gone?" And that.
I really hope that you could come up with some books, for someone who's young, inspire them through the textbooks, like, this is the way you do. And I thought that because you are a young Muslim, you want to like channel your energy, channel your vision, channel your inspiration towards this huge movement. I would think that the next step is really like reaching out to them in some tangible ways. But definitely for Singapore, for Asia, it's all about exams. It's all about studying and acing exams. You will really do well and sell your books and be bestseller if you come up with a series of textbooks and a series of talks on how to ace all these questions, etc. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's coming up for my 3rd book. I'll write it now. I'll start writing it next summer though. So
yeah, I think you should. It should come up with the professorship, acing your exams, acing the university entrance exams, and I think you'll be the bestseller in Singapore. And then very soon you'll be traveling around the world and speaking in the schools about, acing their exams. Very, very soon. Okay, 3rd part, which is very quickly to wrap up. You have announced yourself as the presidential candidate for 2048, and I'm going to take you seriously because America is the superpower of the world. And because if you're born in America, you are eligible for running for presidency. A couple of questions. What is the 3 messages you would like to tell the Americans and also to the world at large, like myself, that to support you? Tell us your vision as a president, how the world is going to be, right? And you're going to rule a world, right? Being the superpower of the world and the leader of the superpower, naturally, the world leader, right? What's the world going to be like? What's your 3 messages?
All right. So the thing is, first of all, what do I think the world is going to be like in 2048? Now, I don't exactly think robots are going to take over yet. Because, okay.
That's something I'm so afraid of. Tell us more. What's your vision? Yeah.
Kind of me too. I'm even more afraid of my own brother as he is studying AI right now.
Wow.
So I'm kind of afraid of my own brother doing bad things. But anyway, I don't think that AI will take over the world at that year. Yeah. But I think that tech will have advanced a long way. I mean, the thing is, you have all of these leaps in science, and those correspond to leaps in tech. You have the leap that Newton discovered F equals ma, and then that led up to the Industrial Revolution, which was definitely something huge for tech. Faraday's mind produced electricity, so Faraday thought of electricity, so did Maxwell, and boom, now came the digital age. And then you also had Einstein. Einstein discovered nuclear stuff, and boom, we had nuclear bombs, which ended World War II on the side. And so the thing is, I believe that I want to be the fourth leap in the theory of everything, and that will drastically change technology for the better. If I do it by 2048, then who knows what tech will be like? It will be completely unpredictable, the effects of science on tech. And tech itself, I don't know. Maybe we'll probably have better Zoom quality over here. I don't
Better
know.
Zoom quality. That's practical. Well, how do you feel about humanity? Like what you say, there's still a lot of strife in many parts of the world, racism, discrimination, and you and I look different. And fortunately, we've got the language of English that tie us together, and we're able to speak and communicate. Tell us your vision. Did you have any like dreams, vision? And for me, being a faith follower, if you look at my faith text, if you look at my Facebook, I do a lot of Bible reading every day. Not exactly a fantastic a faith follower. I'm still learning along the way. We all can be better. What's your take on humanity? How the world is going to be in terms of humanity? Is there going to be more strife? More acceptance of differences. What do you see, Isaac?
Okay, what I personally see would be, I'd say that it would be more acceptance in the world, because right now, compared to any given time in modern human history, there are less deaths on average due to wars. Yes, you have small wars, like civil wars, like Syria, you had Afghanistan, things like that. But the thing is, less people are dying in those wars than in monumental wars, like the World War, 7 Years' War. So now is a time of great peace. And I see that years ahead is a time of even greater peace, because probably the US and China will have settled the deals by now, or sometime then. And maybe things like that will happen. Things like, let's say you have peace in the Middle East, you have peace in Asia, which seems very unlikely right now, considering, well, the situation with Afghanistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the terrorists all over the Middle East, especially in Syria. But I think that the future will be a time of even more peace. In some countries, there will probably be a bit of growing strife, but I think that overall peace will maintain throughout the world in 2048.
That's great. Now I've got a question that ties in with a question of you yourself being a young Muslim, and you yourself envisioning yourself being the president of the United States. I want to ask you this question. Definitely through technology, we are able to forge some kind of understanding, communication. That's why I'm with you now. We're able to speak the same language. We're able, like, through communication, understand people a little bit better. Myself, being Singaporean, when I do travel, I've got lots of acceptance, of course, but there are incidences whereby people did not speak to me respectfully. So that kind of, like, I felt that's really due to a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of people not knowing what's happening to the other parts of the world. They're not understanding other people's faith, not understanding other people's life practices, etc. I just want to know, like, if you are going to be the leader of the world, how are you going to like communicate or bring this level of understanding for your faith, for people of different kinds of faith? I mean, we're talking about a lot of different faith. We're not even talking about Christianity or Muslim. We're talking about, if you go to Thailand, you've got Buddhism, but even within itself, there's different kinds of faith, right? Within itself. So how would you be able to forge that kind of understanding across differences? Isaac?
Okay, so what I think about trying to forge in relationships between different groups, well, get them to value others' beliefs. Take a look on the other side and try to embrace others' values by looking at other things that they like, looking at their beliefs, at least showing that you embrace their values, or at least taking a quick Google or something about their values, because Google's a useful resource, isn't it? But anyway, you have the Tripitaka, you have the Holy Bible, have the Bhagavad Gita. I forgot where I put the Torah, and oh geez, I forgot where I put my Torah, and my Quran is downstairs. But the thing, here's the Torah. Sorry.
And you read them. Do you read them?
Yeah, I've only made progress on the first few pages, but because these are thick books, don't you see?
Wow.
How many? I just don't have the time to read them, but
wow.
I still think that embracing others' values is important, and that's how we can forge connections.
Yes, understanding the values and understanding other faith and religion. I mean, I think you've got some answers right there, because I'm reflecting what you say with Singapore. I think a lot of us are forced to understand other faith and live together among differences, because we're so small in a compact city in Singapore. We are forced to do so. I think when we are put in a situation whereby you start to understand each other in terms of like their values, in terms of their practices, and even the food that they choose, right? The food that they choose, the way that they practice, and the way they prepare the food. I think there's a lot. Then you start to have a lot of appreciation amongst that differences. I also want to ask you, Isaac. We talked about science, maths. It means that a lot of things you have a big job cut out for you. For example, if you want to bring math and science to a lot of these Muslim students around the world, I mean, you must have got such a huge vision that, maybe you yourself being supported by your community or your dad, you have to start planting a professor, Subarno Isaac Bari School all over the world. I mean, starting from Asia, starting from Africa, from India, from Bangladesh, where you come from, even in America, in where the poorest of the poorest are, starting the schools. Have you thought of like that movement about schools, about math and science, and really planting it out in the rest of the world, in Middle East? That would be a nice movement. I mean, for me as a teacher, nothing beats education, right? Education, a totality of human. I mean, nothing beats that. That's the solution for the world. We're talking about solution for the world, and that's why I'm for you in educating your students using STEMs and through that a common language. Have you thought of like planting schools? And I know that you are being nominated for the Nobel Prize by India. Have you thought of like planting schools in the poorest communities? Making them like wake up. There is a route for you in the future. If you can discover your talent, and if you have some form of education, you have a job, Isaac, in the world.
Yeah. So the thing is, I have really thought of doing that kind of thing. And in fact, that's what the love is for. But the thing is, I only really have influence over my local area, New York, India, and well, that's
Singapore
really it.
now.
So The thing is, I don't exactly have that much influence, but I want the plant a seed that will make every single student blossom in every single area. But the thing is, I just haven't got the opportunity to do it yet.
Yeah.
Still human. I do not have the amount of influence to do it yet.
I'm sure you need a lot of resources to do that, to kind of make your vision come true, right? Number one, you've got a vision. Number two, you must got strategy. Then you must have deliverables, and then you must have resources to be able to get the final results. So like you yourself right now, you've got such a huge vision. What kind of support do you have right now to have your vision be translated into reality?
Oh, well, I have support coming from a lot of the parts of India, especially South India, Kerala, and I went to Mumbai, Pune, and so I also have quite a bit of support coming from all around America, and now I'm getting interviews from foreign countries. For a few weeks ago, I got something from South Africa, and now I'm here in Singapore, or at least virtually here in Singapore. And so, thank you for the soft clap. And so, I am really honored to be all around the world, and I do think that I already have quite a few resources, but I need a lot more. So I want to spread the message around the world, and that's what I've been trying to do with the love. That, in fact, that's the purpose of the love. In the second book, I will be publishing Manish, but the Manish isn't out yet. So don't try to look it up on Amazon.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Isaac. So we're closing our interview. I want to thank you so much. And a couple of personal questions, but I'd like you in the future, I hope that your dad can come onto my show to talk about. You are the president of the United States on 2048. That's your vision. And do you know that the president of Singapore is actually Halima Yacob, Madam Halima Yacob? She's a Muslim. Do you know that?
Oh, well, I know that the country surrounding Singapore are Muslim, but I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. We have an elected president, and she was elected like 3 years ago. She's a Muslim. She's a Muslim woman. I think she's in her late 60s or coming to 70s. And she's the first elected woman here as our president. And she's also a Muslim, and she wears the tudung, the headscarf, etc. It'll be interesting if you could talk to her. I would love to join. I don't know if I'm able to do that. I'm going to go to her Facebook, and it would be interesting if you could talk to our president, who is a Muslim herself. And I don't think any Muslim woman in the world has held a position like that. I think Singapore has got a breakthrough in terms of its leadership. Isaac, what do you think?
Yeah, that would certainly be interesting, as I have received awards from some prominent world leaders, including President Obama, Governor Cuomo, and that's it. And I have talked head-on to somebody who might be related to the Department of Education in India, but I haven't talked head-on to a great world leader, president per se. So it would be
I don't know what I can do, but I'm not promising you anything. But I'm just going to go to her Facebook, and I'm going to post our video and your message to her. She's a Muslim woman. She talks a lot about students in pandemic, and she talks a lot about students' mental health. Because during the pandemic situation, families are locked down, and students are studying from the home. But of course, students going back to the schools. But a lot of unspoken fears, I suppose, in a lot of students' mind, unspoken situation. Mental health among students right now is a huge issue. Definitely would like to link you up to her. If I could, I will try my very best, and also to support you, to show my support to you, your community, and also to your dad, Mr. Varley. To close, thank you so much, Isaac. To close, you talked about resources, right? Having a campaign, you need a lot of resources. Firstly, I would think you need a lot of people to support you, which you already have. I saw you having like 20 million views, and you have over like 20 collective million views all over the world. But I think probably what you need in America, I think you need a PR agent in America. America is all about PR. So I think you need a PR agent. Tell your dad about that. You need a talent manager. Tell the dad about that. In America. Next is on a personal level, Isaac. You have so much so-called, you gave yourself, okay, these roles to hold the banner, hold the flag for young Muslims, and you want to hold the banner for Muslims as you grow up, right? It's a lot of responsibility, number one. With that responsibility, you are going into a world whereby it could be a double-edged sword. It could work for you, it could work against you. In myself, in the media, social media, myself in the digital media, I'm not an influencer, I'm more like an educator trying to push out educational, materials like this. But I face a lot of hesitancy. I have a lot of hesitancy about even going out into the public in the digital world, because it could be a double-edged sword. Tell me, is there a pressure trying to hold a banner, a flag for your people, Muslims, and yourself at that age, a tender age, and I'm telling you, even at any age, no ageism, at any age, there's a lot of pressure. So what's that kind of pressure that you face as a young person, or with your parents, with your family, Isaac?
Well, the kind of things I face within my inner family?
No, as a person who's going to hold this banner, the flag for young Muslims, yeah, what's the pressure you have, and what's the pressure you foresee in the future?
Well, okay, so I don't really have any pressure in the current day. Because holding the banner for young Muslim, I don't exactly have communication with the other side, exactly like all these religious terrorists. I don't exactly have communication with them, but I think that I may see some blockades in the future. Not only coming from the people like those, but also Islamophobic people who have been convinced by people that Islam is the most monstrous religion ever. And while people who racist as a whole. So I think I may see some blockades here and there, but I don't have anything in the current day.
Okay, what about is there any pressure amongst your mom? I saw her video. She's such a beautiful mother. Your mom and your dad, and your brother, he's such a genius, right? I saw him trying to solve the trigonometry in the street in America. I would love to see you all in Singapore one day, to be speaking to the schools one day. I would love that. Tell me, what kind of pressure do they feel like they're in the social media, they're in the public eye, and with the message that your family is trying to push to the world? Isaac?
My mother, she doesn't really feel that much pressure, because my mother and my father don't really show up in most of my videos, and when they do, they're mostly just enjoying. They're not actually playing a very important role. And most of the time, when some of my parents do play an important role, it's my father. So my father is fine to speak and do all of those things on camera. So the thing is, my mom and my dad, they don't really face that much pressure, but they support me a lot. And my brother, on the other hand, yeah, he makes his own videos. He's basically just like me, but twice as old. I mean, he's even twice as old, exactly.
Yeah, he's just a magnified version of you. Your brother, he is such a genius himself, and he's doing AI. And I saw him and you telling the world to pray for your dad when your dad had a fall. And I know how it felt because my mom had a fall, and it can be traumatic for the family. I just want to know, is there any sibling rivalry between you and him?
We don't
Lots of
exactly
sibling rivalry in my family,
we don't talk about it on Barry Science Lab, but yes, we do have a small rivalry. A few here and there, a few arguments here and there,
Yeah.
A few markers stealing here and there. Yeah,
Like
we have
the
a lot.
normal family quarrels and the fights among brothers, right?
Yeah. We have some sibling animosity,
Yeah.
to say the
Okay.
least.
Tell me the fine. Yeah, I would like you to wrap up in 15 seconds, Isaac, because you've been so kind. We have been here for an hour or so. Tell me what kind of resources you need, and you have to be as specific as possible to tell the world what you need. You're sending a message to the world about resources. Number one, I would say if you are in America, number one, you need to have a talent manager. You need to have a PR agent. So because you are in America, you're not in Singapore, right? I mean, in Singapore, probably you can just.
I kept this.
You got to write that. So what kind of specific resources you need, tangible or intangible, for more people to join you on this campaign, I would say a movement in being the next president of the United States in 2048, and also being a young Muslim to push out this message of being the world leader in science and maths. And you're talking about world leaders in solving world problems like the Elon Musk of the world, right? You're talking about the Elon Musk of the world. So tell the world as this digital message goes on to the world, what are the specific resources you need? Tell us 3 specific resources.
Number one, I need funding for a lab because, of course, I need some scientific equipment because currently I don't really have that much. I have a slinky. I have something I can use to make waves. I have some.
You need a sponsorship for that.
Nanometers. I have some basic tools, but beyond that, I don't really have anything else. So I need funding for a lab. Secondly, I would like more people to join my movement because more people means more influence and showing the world the message that peace can be achieved by math and science, not guns, bombs, and destroying and killing other people. So I want to spread that message, and to do that, I need more people. And number 3, I would say what I need most would be, what I need most? That's actually a very good question. What would I need most? I'd say that I want some influence. That's why I'm running for the United States president in the first place. I want some influence. And that's why I want the first 2. I just want influence so I can tell more people my own goal and to tell people that the world peace is the ultimate goal. And so how my idea for achieving it.
Yeah, and to translate that into very simple terms, I would see it as number 1, you need a sponsor. Number 1, I would think that your dad can write to Boeing. He can write to Mercedes, he can write to Elon Musk, and ask them to sponsor you. So all your videos will be sponsored by them, and they could fund you for a lab. I don't see it as a problem. I mean, if you're in Singapore, I suppose you will be able to get sponsors for that if you've got corporate sponsors. Yeah, for that.
Yeah, we have a small sponsor. We are sponsored but partially by Brilliant. Brilliant.org. Go to the link, chaps. 15% off if you will use the link /BerryScienceLab. But anyway, Brilliant.org, this math and science company that's really big, and they give us only like 700, 800 every year. And I need some more in order to get labs equipment and things like that. So
yeah, I suppose if you are able to be part of an R&D team in a Japanese company, or part of an R&D team in some companies, I'm very sure they'll be able to sponsor you. Singapore is in search of foreign talent. Maybe you should tell your dad. Singapore is in search of foreign talent. You should be here in Singapore. They will sponsor you anything. So that's number one. And number two, I think if you want to have more followers, do you have a foundation or an NGO that people could be involved in very tangible terms? And I think you could write that down, Isaac. If you want, because I have an experience with starting an NGO in Singapore, a climate change organization. It is very specific organization and NGO. And with that, you have to have a committee of people heading the NGO. And this NGO will really gather people into your cause, because I was doing climate change about 15 years ago in Singapore, and I was involved with UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. I was involved in Japanese NGOs who linked me up with that. You need a foundation and you need an NGO so that you can have a group of people to run the NGO, but you have to be very mindful to not be able to make it politicized. So I would love to connect you with myself again, Isaac, if you are in line with me to roll out a couple of more interviews with you in terms of education with you or your dad, to be very specific, to be very structured, to be talking about, because I see you doing your educational videos, right? If you're able to teach calculus, trigonometry, sine, cosine, I mean, it beats my head. It's just, I still couldn't understand it, right? But if you're able to teach it through a particular structured syllabus, probably a Singapore syllabus, which is famed for in the world, then I think you will get a lot of following from academics and a lot from students, right? And they are the people that you want to inspire. If you have a structured syllabus out there, I'm not quite, do you have a structured syllabus for what you're teaching out there?
Yeah. So what was the question?
Like a textbook? Do you have like a textbook thing that you're teaching? Because I see you teaching in your YouTube channels.
So first of all, my third book, I plan to be a textbook. And second of all, I don't really follow a curriculum other than the one at Brilliant. Hint, hint, brilliant.org/BerryScienceLab to get 50% your previous offer. But anyway, I do have plans for making an Indian textbook, and I have already discussed it with somebody who I presume to be related to the Indian Department of Education. So I think that I might get my own textbook, but if I don't, I write my own one.
Yes. All right. So I want to thank you so much, Isaac. It's been such a delightful time with you and myself as an ex-educator. I'm taking this as an education video out there, and I want to thank you, your family, and your dad, and definitely want to link up with your dad again and yourself again if you are able to roll out a couple of inspiring math classes to the Singaporean students to actually garner your movement. So thank you so much, Isaac. I'd like to thank you and like to say hi and to you and your community with this video, and all my love and all the protection from me, from the people of Singapore, and from God, safety and good health to you, your grandparents, your mom and your dad and your brother. Would you like to say bye?
Bye! It's really an honor being on this show. It was such an honor, and I'm really happy that I got to be here. I mean, otherwise, how am I going to tell the world that peace is the most optimal thing? And also, it was really inspiring to hear your story and how you have been binge watching my videos. So, thank you.
Yes, I binge watch your videos because you inspired me so much at this age with maths and science, and it's like just crazy. You're able to solve all the speed problems and all the acceleration problems, which beats me when I was in my teens doing my exams. So thank you, bye, and all the best to you, and all the best to Mr. Bari. He did a good job, and I hope you take it all the way to the top. Bye, Isaac.
Bye!